It is 16 minutes before the hour here on the Toronto Large Radio Show. We're pleased to be in studio with a man who has a new hat. Is that a new hat?
I don't wear hats too much.
Well, it's a good looking hat. It says AutoCare Plus on it. It's the way the red comes down. It almost looks like racing stripes. I'm doing my
NASCAR stuff today.
And that is the voice of John Manellis. He is the owner of AutoCare Plus, which has grown to now a 5-store operation. There are outlets here in Manchester at 991 Candia Road on the east side, in Merrimack at 738 Daniel Webster Highway, just south of the Bedford border. In Maine, South Portland. I'm sure there's a story on how you ended up with one in Maine. Maybe you'll tell it someday, right near the Maine Mall. Up in Wolfboro on Center Street, just outside of town, Route 28. And now up in Conway. So we've got the Lakes region, the White Mountains, the Manchester area, and down east covered.
We're trying to cover it. So.
AutoCarePlus.com is where you can learn all about the services they offer and why they call themselves your dealer alternative. Check out their 5-year, 50,000-mile warranty, parts and labor, good nationwide. Their AutoCare clubs. My favorite, their pre-purchase inspection. Boy, did they save me from a lot of mistakes. And so much more, like their used car inventory, which they sell mostly out of Wolfboro, but also out of Merrimack. And no matter where it is, if you see it online, they can get it to you for a test drive. Yep. It's all at AutoCarePlus.com. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Rich. How are you?
I'm unbelievable. How are you?
Pretty good. It's still spring out there.
It's still spring. Did it ever really become winter?
I don't think so.
Not that I'm complaining. Although my one complaint about it is that I spent, more money than I wanted to get my snowblower up and running and, in tip-top condition. And I think I sparked it up twice.
Well, make sure you put one of them, some gas saver inside the tanks.
Yes, some gas saver.
Doesn't stale out on you.
I'll just turn it on and let it run till it goes dry. How about that? No? All right.
Yeah, you can do that. Then the rubber will dry out and run up. And you have to replace the gas line. So.
Well, yeah.
So.
Anyway, what do you have for us today, John? Oh, by the way, folks, if you have a question about your car or anything automotive, give us a call, 606-6762. That's 606-6762.
Well, nothing exciting except I was going to talk about stuff that's been coming up at the shops lately and got me thinking about, our industry as a whole and how it's viewed from the public. And sometimes I wonder about, do the customers actually know who's working on their vehicle? And, yesterday I was up in Conway and we had a very expensive Audi in the shop, and it had a misfire, and we were figuring out what was causing it. And he had recently had it into the Audi dealership. I don't know which one, but anyway, an Audi dealership, the proposed experts, and which I think is also the mentality of a lot of the driving public out there. And they basically took the engine apart and decarbonized it going after this problem that he was having. And when they reassembled the intake manifold to the car, they, I know we're human, we all make errors, but this was a grossly incompetent error. And, they basically pinched off of, the PCV system, the breathing system, if you will, of the car. And so that caused all kinds of other issues and basically caused the intake manifold gasket to implode because the car couldn't breathe. And so when you clamp off the exhaust of when you're trying to breathe and you suck in and you go to blow out and you can't blow out, it's got to go somewhere. So it pulled the gaskets off the intake. And so anyway, long story short is,
Now you said he went to the dealership.
Yeah, this was at the dealership. This is what we found in taking apart the car.
So now you would think, though, that the dealership would have people who were familiar with their own vehicles.
And they are familiar. I'm not saying they're not. It's just that, either he was rushing to put it back together or he, was trying to cut corners because he's paid to cut corners so he can make extra money.
So what they call piecework.
Yeah, it's flat rate. We pay.
Flat rate.
It's a national thing. That's how the industry pays. But at the same time, there's not everybody who's a flat rate technician necessarily is
Yeah, and explain to people what flat rate means, because I know there are different ways that this can be charged. What's it mean?
Well, I mean, there's a national labor guide out there, and they take and they do national testing, and they basically take a car off the showroom floor, if you will, right out of production, and they put it in a bay, and they time trial, and they do 4 or 5 tests
to see how long it takes.
See how long to do a job.
So if a job typically takes 4 hours.
Right.
You get paid
4 hours.
If you're the mechanic, whether it takes you 3 hours or 5 hours, you get paid for 4 hours.
Exactly.
So there's an incentive there maybe to try to get it done faster, because if you can do 3 4-hour jobs in a day, because you can do them in 3 hours.
You can make 11 hours in an 8-hour day.
Right.
And some of the good ones do that, but not every day is like that. And some days you are I think Paul's saying is sometimes you're the bug, sometimes you're the windshield.
So, all right. So we've got now. Are there other ways though that the mechanics are typically paid? Is there sort of like listen, it's $50 an hour plus parts, no matter how long it takes us? Is that a way that it happens, or
not the way? I mean, most they're either in salary or hourly. A lot of the we call them general service guys who just do oil changes and tires and stuff will be paid a normal hourly rate, and they'll get paid for 40 hours plus overtime. Mm-hmm. But usually the highly trained, highly skilled technicians are on the flat rate system. It's not always the case because, again, some guys don't like the pressure. Mm-hmm. And some guys, it's really, as an owner, it's a fine line to walk, because you have to be, you have to have good systems and checks and balances in place, if you will, so that make sure that your technicians are being efficient, but they're not, taking shortcuts at the customer's expense, if you will. So, but anyway, it got me to thinking about the. Go ahead.
Well, now a question about this though. So if you find something like that, that's an obvious error that a mechanic made, especially if it's coming from a dealership, is there any recourse for the vehicle owner to be able to say you're going to pay for this repair because you screwed it up?
I mean, and that should happen. And I don't know, the customer is very aggravated and upset, and I don't know what he's going to do. But for me, when we say nationwide warranty for 50,000 miles, 5 years, I mean, again, stuff happens to us, and it wasn't a technician error in this case, but we recently had one fail down in, I don't know, it's Kentucky or something at one of the shops, and I had to write out an $800 check down to a shop down there. And, shop to shop, when, he wasn't going to do it for free. I get it. And he sent us pictures of what he saw. And, it was basically a part failure on a part that we put on. And there's nothing I got to do about it except, take care of my customer. Because my customer's like, I just had this done,
right.
a year ago. And,
right.
So we did it. But, that's what I would expect this customer to go back to Audi with his bill from us and say,
it sounds like he's got a very expensive problem right now.
He does. More expensive than, the decarbonization that they offered to try and fix his misfire problem, which may or may not have been the original problem. I don't know now, because it's such a mess. It caused other issues, basically. So, but, it's, we're talking about one of those V10 Audi A6, expensive motors. It's
the crowd pleaser.
Yeah. So anyway,
they still make attention. See, the only car, I thought the last car I saw with a 10-cylinder engine was a Ford Excursion.
No, there's a few left. There's a V12 out there.
There's still a 12 out there, huh?
I believe Caddy still has something out there. Or
wow.
Or no, what do you call it? Aston Martin, one of those high-end things. So. But yeah, I got to thinking. Paul and I are actually headed out next week on business management, training that I do 4 times a year, and our technicians also go and get, stay on top of the industry stuff quite often during the year, probably 40 hours a week. 40 hours a year in various industry training to stay on top of the the ever-changing, I guess, what we call our industry, because the cars aren't getting any less complicated.
So what should people look for when they walk into an establishment, whether it's a dealership, AutoCare Plus,
I think they should
the garage
ask.
on the corner?
Honestly, I think ask, what are your certifications? Because unfortunately, in our industry, there is no mandate. There is no anybody can open up a shop and start working on your car, and they don't even have to have gone to a vocational school or a high school or college or anything. It's just you can start working on cars tomorrow if you want. And yeah, the state, for
caveat emptor.
Huh?
Caveat emptor. Buyer beware.
Well, again, it's, doctors, again, they don't have to be board certified either, I guess. That's one thing you check when you go in to get cut up for surgery. Maybe that, does that mean he's not going to make a mistake? No. Is the same thing with technicians, but at least if they have certifications and if the shop has, warranties and, that my advice to customers is to ask and, don't just take it for granted. And if you go to any of our shops, that you can see right into the bays, and you can actually talk to the technician who's working on your car. It's not we don't run them out back and hide. I mean, again, you can have the greatest relationship with the guy at the front counter, but you don't exactly know who's necessarily wrenching on your vehicles, and taking the wheels off, putting them back on. It seems like a simple process, but you drive down the road and the wheel falls off. It's we take a lot of things for granted, I guess. It's just I just think part of me, I don't like the government getting involved in our business. I'm not saying that at all, but at the same time, there should be. Well,
isn't there some kind of like self-regulating, Auto Mechanics Association or Garages of America that you can belong to?
There's ASE certifications, which is our, Automotive Service Excellence, which is the biggest, industry. Most everybody gets that, but not all the dealership guys require their guys. The reason all this came up is because AAA called me yesterday. We're AAA approved repair shops, and they said, "Hey, your shop in Manchester, one of the service consultant front counter ASE is expired. There's nobody in the store that has it, and we have to be in compliance by the end of May, and or we lose our AAA
certification."
So the shop can't say it's a AAA certified repair shop. And so, they do hold us accountable, but at the same time, if, you don't want to be a AAA shop, then fine, AAA will drop you, and that's what they'll do. If I don't have, we have to have a master technician on staff, which means he's got all 8 categories of ASC certifications, A1 through A8. Then you have to have your L1, which is your, electrical certification, and then you have to have the guy at the front counter certified, so the service consultant, service advisor has to be certified. And if you don't have at least one of those people on staff, then you can't be a AAA shop. So
there's AAA, there's ASE, and
and ASE is actually the outfit that does the testing, and they're the one. It's a national testing center. You go to take tests, and you have to be present. You can't do them online. It's not like you can cheat.
They got to see you turn the wrench.
Yeah, well, you got to take tests, and again, that doesn't make you the greatest technician, but it does make you accountable to your industry and your career.
Gotcha.
So.
And some cars, by the way, with the V12 engine include the Aston Martin 5.9, the Mercedes-Benz M275 AMG. Yeah. Audi has a Q7, but they launched that in 2008 with V12. They must be small cylinders because my Hemi's only got 8 and it's a 5.7 liter. These are all 5.9s.
They're tiny cylinders, They're little lawnmower cylinders, but
is it a Hemi?
The Hemi has got some big ass cylinders.
All right. So ask when you go into whatever shop it is, including the dealership, where I think people are probably prone to making assumptions about the qualifications of people working on the vehicles, what they have for training and certification and all that fun stuff. Check the walls; they should be hanging, right?
They should be.
All right. John Manellis, owner of AutoCare Plus. As always, it's good to have you in the house. Thank you for sharing what you know about cars with our audience.
Hey, anytime.
AutoCarePlus.com is where you can learn more. That's AutoCarePlus.com. Josh, do what you can with what you got left.